Picture this. You're traveling abroad. You are in Osaka, Japan.
Oh, an amazing
Yeah,
place.
the neon lights of Dotonbori are buzzing. The
Yeah.
energy of the city is just incredible. And you just want to grab a simple hot meal after like a 14-hour travel day.
Right, you're totally exhausted.
Exactly. So you step up to a counter, you hand over your debit card, and the terminal beeps. Declined.
Oh, the worst feeling.
It is, but you brush it off, right? I mean, it's a minor inconvenience. You pull out your phone, you load up your banking app, and you check your balance. You have money. Plenty of it, actually. Your account is in perfect standing.
There's no big red warning banner or anything.
None. Zero fraud warning messages on the screen.
Mm.
So you try the card again. It fails. You walk across the street to a brightly lit ATM. Denied.
Wow.
And in a matter of minutes, standing there in the humidity of a Japanese summer night, a freezing cold realization just washes over you. You are completely, inexplicably locked out of the global financial system.
That's genuinely terrifying.
Right. You have capital, but functionally, you have zero purchasing power.
It's a completely terrifying scenario, and frankly, it is becoming entirely too common. That feeling of sudden, absolute financial exile is exactly what we are dissecting today.
And to guide us through this nightmare, we are digging into a really fascinating newly published Zenodo research record. And I want to be clear up front here, this isn't just a travel blog complaint.
Right, not just someone venting on social media.
Exactly, not a tourist complaining about a bad vacation. It is a formal, highly detailed diagnostic case study. It's authored by Dr. Melvin Sewell and Saiku Venga from the Cosmic University of Echo Rift Studies, and it was published in Bibe magazine.
A great publication.
Yeah. The official title is Financial Access Collapse PayPal Debit Card Lockout Event, Osaka 2026. Our mission for this deep dive is to understand the actual mechanics of this disaster. Like, how does a seemingly minor technical glitch snowball into a total life crisis without a single human being pressing a button to make it happen?
To pull that apart, we really have to look through the specific lens the authors use in their paper. They call it the Systemic Sabotage Diagnostic Framework.
That sounds intense.
It does, right. But the central premise here is brilliant because it forces us to rethink how we view technology entirely. We're going to explore how automated, algorithmic, governance, these invisible digital systems constantly running in the background of our lives, how they can functionally sabotage your existence.
Without anyone actually wanting to hurt you.
Exactly. They can do it without a single drop of malicious intent.
So there's no cartoon villain in a swivel chair pulling levers, just a machine doing exactly what it was programmed to do with devastating results.
Precisely.
Okay, so the research establishes a timeline spanning July to August 2026. This traveler is just, going about their business in Osaka. They're withdrawing standard amounts of cash at a 7-bank ATM.
Right.
They're grabbing a quick bite at McDonald's, doing some mundane shopping at Q's Mall.
Which is just the absolute baseline of normal behavior. Nothing sketchy. But beneath the surface of those completely ordinary interactions, down at the ledger level, a critical technical malfunction was silently corrupting the account data.
Okay, let's unpack this. The paper notes that almost every single time this traveler used their PayPal debit card, the system generated a duplicate pending authorization.
Which is where the nightmare starts.
So to visualize this, it's as if you have a financial ghost following you around Osaka. Every time you buy a meal, this invisible ghost steps up to the counter right behind you and buys a second identical meal. But the ghost is somehow using your actual wallet to pay for it.
It's an eerie visual, but functionally accurate. However, we need to dive into the technical mechanics here because the authors explicitly highlight a crucial distinction. These were not standard display holds.
Right, because we've all seen those.
Exactly. Anyone who uses a modern banking app has seen a display hold. You check into a hotel, they swipe your card for incidentals, and your app shows a pending charge.
Yeah.
But that money hasn't actually moved, It's just a temporary fence built around a portion of your usable balance until the final charge clears.
Wait, so if it wasn't just a display hold, what was actually happening? Was the system literally sending double the money to McDonald's?
Not to the merchant, no. McDonald's wasn't getting paid twice. But internally, the glitch was actively deducting real-time available funds from the principal balance.
Oh my God.
Yeah. When the traveler made a $100 withdrawal at the 7-bank ATM, the duplicate authorization loop instantly resulted in an additional $100 principal drain within the account's internal ledger.
Just vaporized.
Completely. A $12.50 charge at McDonald's meant another $12.50 was instantly vanished from their available funds.
But shouldn't a modern banking system catch that immediately? I mean, if two identical charges hit at the exact same millisecond for the exact same amount at the same location, deduplication software should just delete one of them. That's basic database management.
Under normal circumstances, yes. That's how it's supposed to work. Deduplication logic looks for identical metadata. But this specific glitch was mutating the metadata.
Oh, so they didn't look identical to the computer.
Right. Each of these phantom duplicate transactions carried a distinct, unique authorization ID. Because the ID numbers didn't match, the banking software's deduplication logic was entirely bypassed.
Wow.
The system just assumed they were two legitimate separate transactions occurring simultaneously. Therefore, they failed to auto-expire through standard banking release windows.
That is just wild. I want you to pause for a second and imagine the sheer panic of this. You are navigating a foreign country, you're carefully managing a travel budget, and you are watching your liquid capital artificially drain away in real time.
It's sickening.
Your app says your money is just vanishing in exact increments of what you're spending. You're losing twice the money for half the goods, and there is no way to stop the bleeding.
And because these uniquely coded duplicate authorizations were piling up so rapidly, accumulating across every ATM visit and retail purchase, they were fundamentally altering the algorithmic profile of how this account behaved.
But see, the terrifying thing isn't just the duplicate charge itself. A bad charge can eventually be reversed. The actual nightmare started when the broader system woke up and looked at its own mess.
Exactly.
The glitch caused this rapid artificial depletion of funds, and the risk algorithm overseeing the account completely misinterpreted what it was looking at.
Which brings us to August 12th, 2026. The PayPal automated risk engine is this massive, complex piece of software, right? Constantly monitoring millions of accounts for signs of theft.
Yeah.
It scans this traveler's ledger and sees a sudden, massive explosion of rapid-fire duplicate authorizations happening overseas. It doesn't analyze the glitch. It just categorizes the output. It classifies this behavior as a high-velocity, high-anomaly profile.
Which, to a security machine, screams, "This account has been compromised, shut everything down."
Precisely. The automated system took that ledger anomaly and unilaterally escalated it into a deep fraud lock. And the operational paralysis was immediate and absolute.
Completely frozen.
Yeah. ATM withdrawals were suddenly denied across every major Japanese network. eNet, Lawson Bank, 7-Bank. Point-of-sale transactions failed at all retail merchants. The traveler starts getting that terrifying message spat out on ATM screens. Your bank has frozen your card.
Now, I have to stop you here because this is the part that makes my blood boil. It feels like a massive design flaw. If the algorithm is the very thing that caused the duplicate charge error in the first place, why is the system so blind that it can't recognize its own mistake?
It's a great question.
Right. Why punish the user for a ledger error created by the bank? It's not protecting the user. It's an autoimmune disease attacking the host.
What's fascinating here is the defensive architecture of these financial networks. And you really have to understand where this freeze actually occurred to answer that question. It did not happen at the surface level of the PayPal user interface. It occurred all the way down at the MasterCard routing layer.
Okay, wait. Explain the difference. Why does the layer matter?
Think of the PayPal app on your phone as the paint on the walls of a house. It looks nice, it tells you what color the room is, but it's just a surface projection. The MasterCard routing layer is the concrete foundation of the house.
Right.
It is a deep network-level security state. To the system's defensive logic, the root cause of the anomaly is entirely irrelevant. The risk engine doesn't possess the capacity for self-reflection. It doesn't say, oh, maybe my API authorization loop is corrupted.
It just acts.
It only sees a pattern that matches theft. And when it sees that threat, it places a block at the switch level. When a point-of-sale terminal in Japan sends a transaction message, it never even reaches PayPal's core ledger to be evaluated. MasterCard's routing layer just drops the data packet entirely.
So using that analogy, there's a crack in the concrete foundation, but the user is just staring at the paint on the wall, wondering why the house is tilting.
That's a great way to look at it, yeah. It is a blunt force mechanism designed to stop hemorrhaging capital, even if the hemorrhage is a phantom creation of the system itself.
But surely when a machine goes rogue like this and acts on pure, unthinking reflex, there is a human safety valve. You bypass the machine, you pick up the phone, and you call human customer support to fix it.
That is the logical assumption every consumer makes. We all believe there is always a human with a master key somewhere.
Right. And the research record details exactly how this desperate phone call played out. The traveler gets a frontline support agent on the phone, the agent pulls up the account, and they assure the traveler that, on their end, the account is perfectly active.
Which must have been maddening.
Oh, completely.
Hmm.
The agent says it is in good standing. There are no red flags on their monitor. They even trigger standard in-app two-factor identity checks to prove the traveler is who they say they are, and the traveler passes instantly.
Everything checks out.
Everything looks completely fine to the human operator, but the physical card in Osaka still absolutely will not work. So what does this all mean? If the human can see it's the right person and the account has plenty of money, why can't the human just hit an override button?
This introduces one of the most critical concepts from Dr. Sewell's research, script exhaustion. When you call customer service for a major fintech company, you are not talking to a systems engineer with root access to the mainframe.
Yeah, obviously.
You are talking to a frontline representative who is locked into a highly rigid escalation loop, a digital script that dictates exactly what they can and cannot do.
So they only have the tools the system explicitly gives them.
Exactly. And let's go back to our analogy. The agent's dashboard only interacts with the Surface API, the paint on the walls. Their system queries the PayPal Surface ledger, which says the account is fine.
Because the freeze is deeper.
Right. Remember, the freeze happened in the concrete foundation, down at the MasterCard routing layer. Because the freeze is buried that deep within the network infrastructure, it is entirely invisible to frontline support.
So they literally can't see the problem.
Their software literally cannot see the routing block. Therefore, it is impossible for them to manually reverse the freeze through standard customer service workflows. They cannot push the override button because the system never built one for them.
Which forces the agent to rely on their standard procedural fallbacks. And this is where the paper highlights how the situation shifts from terrifying to genuinely absurd. Because the software architecture assumes a US-based customer, the solutions the script forces the agent to offer are exclusively domestic.
And utterly useless to an international traveler.
Utterly useless. The agent suggests transferring the funds to an external US bank. But the traveler is in Japan, needing immediate physical cash to buy food. Then the agent suggests sending money to another US PayPal user. Again, absolutely useless when you are standing in a train station in Osaka. And then the absolute kicker, the most laughable solution of all, the agent offers to have a paper check mailed to the user's physical US address.
Which is the peak of script exhaustion.
I really want you to put yourself in those shoes. You are stranded in Japan. Your card is frozen by a ghost glitch. You have no cash. And a customer service rep who is genuinely trying to be helpful and empathetic politely offers to mail a physical piece of paper to your empty house thousands of miles away in America. The level of cognitive dissonance and alienation there is just staggering.
It really is, and it perfectly illustrates the fatal limitations of algorithmic governance. The human agent is trying to solve a dynamic, real-world crisis, but they are confined by a digital script designed for a highly specific, standardized domestic scenario.
Yeah.
Once the agent exhausts those domestic fallbacks, they hit a solid wall. That is the exact definition of script exhaustion.
But there's usually a backdoor, right? After repeated confirmation that sending a piece of paper to an empty house wasn't going to buy dinner in Osaka, the support agent finally reaches the absolute administrative boundary of their script and offers one final lifeline: Zoom.
Yes, Zoom is PayPal's international remittance service. On paper, it sounds like the perfect, elegant solution for someone stranded abroad without a working card.
Yeah, you just wire the money to yourself, walk into a shop, pick up the cash, and survive until you get home.
But the case study details how this final lifeline instantly snapped. And it snapped not because of a software glitch, but because of a massive infrastructure clash. This is where we really have to look at the severe regulatory mismatch between U.S. financial technology and Japanese banking infrastructure.
Hold on, why does Japanese banking infrastructure care if I'm just wiring $50 to myself to buy noodles?
Because financial systems do not exist in a vacuum. They have to interact with the sovereign laws of the countries they operate in. Japan's cross-border remittance rules are governed by incredibly strict laws, primarily the Foreign Exchange and Foreign Trade Act.
Okay.
These are aggressive safeguards designed to prevent money laundering and capital flight by organized crime syndicates.
Okay, but how does that specifically break the Zoom fallback for a random tourist?
In many countries, you can use a remittance service to send money for over-the-counter cash pickup. You walk into a Western Union or a MoneyGram, you show your passport to the cashier to verify your identity, and you walk out with local currency.
Right, I've done that.
The KYC, or Know Your Customer requirement, is handled locally by the agent. But Japanese banking law doesn't trust that localized physical verification for digital transfers. In Japan, Zoom is legally only allowed to support direct bank deposits.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There is virtually no over-the-counter cash pickup available at mainstream retail locations for these kinds of international fintech apps.
So you can't just walk into a post office or a 7-Eleven and get your money. The money has to land in a verified Japanese bank account first.
Correct. The Japanese government integrates their KYC verification directly into the bank account creation process itself. But to get a direct bank deposit, you obviously need a Japanese bank account. And to open a Japanese bank account, you run headfirst into an impenetrable regulatory wall.
The ultimate catch-22.
Exactly. To open the account, you are legally required to have a Zaikaku card, which is a certificate of residency status. You must have a registered local Japanese address, and you must have a local Japanese phone number.
But our traveler is just that, a traveler. They are in transit, they don't have residency, they don't have a local address, and they sure don't have a Zaikaku card.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this specific moment right here is where the physical world and the digital world fatally collide. The digital fallback system, Zoom, is built on the arrogant assumption of universal infrastructural compatibility. The physical reality of Japanese banking law dictates otherwise. Well, because the traveler lacked local residency, Zoom failed completely and utterly. The money had nowhere legal to land.
The causal chain in the research record outlines it so clearly it's almost sickening. Step 1. The card is frozen by the algorithm due to a ledger error. Step 2. Because the card is frozen at the routing layer, ATM and point-of-sale transactions are universally denied.
Yep.
Step 3. Because they are denied, the traveler needs a remittance fallback. Step 4. Because Japan's anti-money laundering laws don't allow anonymous cash pickup, they need a local account. Step 5. Because they don't have residency, they can't get a local account, which leads to the final inescapable state total access collapse.
The loop is firmly closed. The agent is entirely locked out with zero remaining procedural avenues for resolution, and the traveler is functionally broke despite having a positive account balance.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because we have to pivot from the specific nightmare of this one traveler sweating in Osaka to the broader implications of what Dr. Sewell and Saiku Venga are actually diagnosing here. The title of their framework uses the term systemic sabotage.
Right.
Now, when most people hear the word sabotage, it sounds like an intentional attack. It sounds like corporate espionage or a hacker actively targeting you. But the paper argues that this is something much more insidious.
That is the core thesis of the research, and it is profoundly important for understanding the future of modern infrastructure. We are culturally conditioned to view sabotage as an active, hostile action perpetrated by a bad actor.
Yeah.
But this diagnostic framework reveals that automated, rigid, and opaque financial algorithms, when forced to interact with strict, uncompromising international laws, produce what the authors call functional sabotage.
Functional sabotage, meaning the end result is exactly the same as if a malicious hacker had intentionally attacked you, even though no human being ever did.
Yeah, precisely. It creates a state of total resource deprivation and operational confinement. The system effectively neutralizes the individual. And the most chilling aspect of functional sabotage is that it occurs entirely independently of any conscious human intent.
Just machines running code.
Exactly. The algorithm wasn't trying to hurt the traveler, it was just blindly trying to protect the ledger from a ghost. The customer service rep wasn't trying to abandon the traveler, they were just following an exhausted script that they had no power to break. The Japanese banking regulations weren't designed to starve a tourist, they were designed to prevent financial crime.
But when you blindly stack all those perfectly logical, well-intentioned automated systems on top of each other, you accidentally build a weapon.
You get a mechanism of destruction. The paper describes this resulting operational isolation as a funneling mechanism. It systematically and ruthlessly eliminates every alternative mode of self-sustenance while the person is abroad.
It just traps them.
Yeah, it funnels them from the initial glitch, down through the failure of customer support, down through the regulatory incompatibility, until they reach the absolute bottom of the funnel, entirely cut off from their own resources, with no way out.
It's like a machine that accidentally builds a perfect prison around you, brick by digital brick. And the guards looking at the monitors don't even know you're locked inside because their screens say all the doors are open.
That's haunting, but true. And because it is algorithmic governance at the helm, there is no centralized human authority that can perceive the whole picture and stop the funneling mechanism once it begins. The system is too compartmentalized.
It is a terrifying reality,
Okay.
and it is exactly what makes the Osaka 2026 event so critical for us to study. We live in a world where we rely almost blindly on seamless, interconnected global financial technology. You tap your plastic card in New York, you tap it in Osaka, you expect it to just work.
We take it completely for granted.
We do. But this case study is a stark, flashing red warning light. It reminds you that you are constantly at the mercy of automated risk engines. Engines that are completely opaque, that cannot be reasoned with, and that can malfunction in ways that trigger deep network-level defensive states you can't even see.
And no one can see them, right?
And when that happens, the frontline human workers you desperately rely on for help are both legally and technologically blind to the actual problem. You are left entirely alone in the void.
This case study forces us to look past just debit cards and customer service scripts. The funneling mechanism we discussed today happened via a legacy banking framework. But consider what happens next.
Oh boy.
As nations globally begin rolling out central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, and as money itself becomes highly programmable through smart contracts, these algorithmic rules won't just be a layer on top of your bank account. They will be baked into the currency itself.
Wow.
If an automated risk engine decides your transaction profile is anomalous in a fully programmable cashless system, a freeze won't just block a physical card. It could instantly geofence your digital wallet, permanently locking your funds at the protocol level based on your location, your network behavior, or just a machine learning error.
A glitch that literally erases your money.
And if that happens, there won't even be a customer service number to call. We have to ask ourselves, are we building a future where an algorithmic error doesn't just ruin a vacation, but permanently and legally exiles you from participating in the economy with absolutely no human right of appeal?
Wow. It really leaves you looking at that piece of plastic in your wallet or that digital wallet on your phone in a completely different light.
It really does.
The next time you're traveling and you step up to a counter in a neon-lit city thousands of miles from home and you hand over your card for a simple meal, you might just hold your breath until you see that approved message on the screen. Because if you don't, you now know exactly how deep the rabbit hole of systemic sabotage can go.